All right, so nowadays it seems like everybody wants a shoe that they can train in, but they can also wear around town that doesn't necessarily look like a training shoe. People generally want a more comfortable shoe now, and they're more willing to sacrifice stability if it comes with some pretty decent comfort, while it doesn't sacrifice too much usability. And surprise, surprise, NOBULL has actually answered that call, or hopefully they've answered that call with the Rec Trainer. So this shoe got announced like right after the games, got a lot of hate, and honestly, like at this point, it's like I don't understand why. Like all the issues that I think anyone's ever had with NOBULL have been answered throughout the years. I mean, the main one being that they don't come out with new shoes. And like at this point, they come out with shoes like every few months. They came out with the Canvas Trainer a few months ago. Now they have the Rec Trainer. Who knows what they're going to have in 3 more months. Before that, they had the golf shoe. So, I mean, you cannot say that they don't come out with new shoes. You can say that they might come out with kind of plain shoes, but I mean, that's NOBULL. That's what they do. That's what they've always done. And, you know, it's part of their name, right? NOBULL. So this is the Rec Trainer, and it's supposed to be a training shoe that you could use for anything. And I really think they're trying to snipe the Vans Ultra Range customers, maybe a little bit of the minimalist shoe people. To me, during my short time wearing these, it seems like these are still more of a training focused shoe, and which I think is a good thing. That's how I would rather have it too. So now taking a look at the upper of the shoe, you have a kind of like knit fabric, focus, and that's pretty much the whole upper of the shoe. And it kind of, in a way, resembles like Allbirds, but kind of not. Like Allbirds have like a merino wool. Sometimes they have a knit, but it doesn't really look like this knit. It's a little bit more taut. It's got, I want to say, probably a little bit less flexibility than like a typical knit fabric would. And there's a lining in the inside, which probably gives it that structure, but also makes it tiny less breathable. I took these on a walk with my dog, and I noticed that my feet were getting a little bit hot with these, and that's kind of uncharacteristic with a normal knit sneaker shoe. So yeah, there is a little bit of flexibility. So I think they designed these, you know, in the Allbirds fashion, or like the Flux Trainer, so that you can just like slip them on. You don't really have to take the laces out. The laces are very similar to the style of the Knit Runner. I wanted to say initially that the upper was like the Knit Runner upper, but it's not. It's a lot more taut. It's a lot less stretchy than that is. But the lacing style is very similar, where it's got the little pull tabs, and that kind of cinches the shoe up from those sides. The laces itself are very similar to the actual runner laces. I think they're almost identical. They're kind of like a flat lace, and I don't mind them. They stay tight, so I can't really complain. I wish they did add in another pair of laces so that you could maybe jazz up your pair of shoes, but I mean, that's just wishful thinking. The ankle collar is mainly a little bit thin, but it's got like a little ring of cushion around it. And having the shoes on, I don't have any issues with comfort. Like, I feel like it's comfortable. Like, I don't really care that it's a little bit looser around the ankle if I can just slip my foot in, which I would prefer. Around the back, you have this little pull tab here. There's a little heel counter in there. You can feel it goes to about right here. And then you have the NOBULL sign on the other side, which I wish was a little bit smaller, but I mean, it's not that big a deal. Like, you back up, you wear these shoes, and it looks like just a black classic sneaker, which, you know, if you were wearing this around town, if you wanted a casual sneaker to just have, I think this would actually be a pretty good casual sneaker. So one thing that took me by surprise is that the outsole is made of EVA foam. That's foam in there. And then around the sides of it, it's kind of like a vulcanized design, but it's not. I don't know if that still counts as vulcanized, because vulcanized would usually have rubber on the bottom, but then it has a rubber strip around to hold in that foam outsole. And then the strip or the sidewalls actually do rise up a little bit higher than your foot actually sits, and it holds your foot in place. It's actually a pretty comfortable fit. The toe box has plenty of space, but I think the width in the metatarsals could be a little bit bigger. It kind of presses up against my bunion. It's broken in a little bit, so it's not so bad right now. But when I first put my foot in these, yeah, it was pressing up against my bunion. I think for the most part, wide feet are going to be okay in these. Like, I feel completely comfortable, and I've got my Nano Fronings on my other foot right now, and they're noticeably more narrow than the Nobulls are. And going back to the tongue, it does have some bands on the side, so it's probably not going to slip around too much. And the tongue itself is just that same kind of knit material on the upper. The outsole obviously is the same as the midsole. It's it's all that one piece there. And then the drop on this, I believe, is still 4 millimeters. Pretty much all of NOBULL shoes or training shoes are 4 millimeters. One thing that this is leagues better than some of the other NOBULL shoes in is that it does not have very much of a toe spring angle. Like the canvas trainer, you could say, oh, why don't you just get the canvas trainers? The canvas trainers have a crazy toe spring angle, which I've never liked. I really like the canvas trainers in general, but I hate the toe spring angle on those. If they got rid of those shoes, they would be so much better. But anyways, these don't have that same issue. You feel like your toe is just making contact with the ground. It's not floaty or anything at all. The shoe just feels like, I mean, it feels like a pair of Vans, not Ultra Range, just like a normal pair of Vans Classics, in that you feel like the edges of the sneaker don't let you kind of like rock over to the side. They're just kind of flat against the ground, which I really like. And then also another great thing about these shoes is that they're fairly light. I got a size 10.5, and they are 11 ounces. Pretty light. A little bit heavier than I was expecting, but still, in the grand scheme of things, they're pretty light. So the flexibility is kind of what you'd expect. It's better than any other NOBULL shoe. Like, the upper moves well. There's a little bit of tension from the sidewalls, and maybe the shoes just need a little bit more breaking in. But I do notice that compared to like a normal pair of training shoes. And then what I really like is the midsole is it's not complete mush. Like, I was expecting these to be pretty soft, and the midsole, while it's not, it's like definitely something that I would be like, all right, well, I could definitely train in those shoes. It's feels stable, it feels dense, it doesn't feel harsh. I think I could run in these if they feel like they would be okay, at least for the normal runs you would do in a CrossFit workout. But yeah, I think it's probably the same foam that they're using in all their other shoes. Probably more similar in like amount to, I want to say, like the Court Trainer, which I think the Court Trainer has like the perfect blend of the amount of foam that it uses. But we'll see how it holds up with some lifts today. I got some overhead squats, nothing too heavy. Even the front squats that I'm doing aren't too heavy. So should be a good day to test these shoes out, kind of light volume. So I'm gonna get to that right now, and we'll see how these things do. Okay, so the workout goes 2-minute interval, 10 GHC sit-ups, 10 overhead squats, max distance, hand over hand, sled pull. And I don't have a rope, so I'm just gonna use the sled strap, which is gonna be brutal. So we'll see how that turns out. You're supposed to accumulate 150 feet, which I might have to lower that because the strap is just so hard to pull, but we'll see. And then you rest 1 minute in between. My legs are just not warm. Grip is pretty good on these. I don't feel like myself sliding around when I'm trying to do the pull. Feels pretty good. $737. Yeah, that was not bad at all. I definitely should have did a level 3 with 15 GHDs and a 115 overhead squat. And then the pull was like 185 pounds. Yeah, this one was maybe a little too short, but it's okay. I didn't use up the full 4 rounds. The 4th round, you're supposed to go for 3 minutes, and I only went the first 3 rounds, which were 2-minute intervals, and every time I did a 50-foot pull. Pulling with the strap wasn't too bad. The grip and just ground feel on these shoes is excellent. Like doing the overhead squats, there was one I was going too fast and I let the bar go in front of me, but everything else felt planted. I never noticed myself like wanting to move too far laterally. Like I was able to spread my knees really well without feeling my feet having to shift around. Really like that about these. Like laterally, they're very stable. They feel like skate shoes. They feel like just normal bands, where they're just like planted to whatever you're on. The lateral stability is really good. The upper does a surprisingly good job of holding you in place, holding your foot in place. I will say, yeah, they aren't as breathable as you would think. That's probably the biggest flaw against them. But all in all, I think they're pretty good. Now, the only thing that I dislike about them is that they cost $130, which I don't think they should cost the same price as a normal pair of NOBULL trainers. Cut them like a $5, $10, $15, something like that. Make them not the same as a normal pair of trainers. I mean, even the canvas trainers are cheaper than these. But either way, that doesn't stop me from saying that I like them. I do actually like these shoes. Surprisingly pretty good.